President of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, and this is our member connection. This is International Women's Month, celebrating women all over the world, but in particular, we are celebrating our members of the Chamber. And today, and as I am looking at my phone and it goes blank, as it would, I am here. You know what? This is what they talk about, technical difficulties, and they come and all of a sudden it disappeared. But anyway, I got Dr. E. Let's put the phone down. Dr. E, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
And you know, I was looking at my notes, and you have so much going on. And how are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Well, tell folks who Dr. E is, Lgbinoba.
All right. Well, I'm Dr. Egheosa Lgbinoba, and I'm a Miami native who is a graduate of Miami-Dade Public Schools.
Okay.
And I went on after that to Howard University studying music. And then I actually came back to Florida to study education leadership at Nova Southeastern University. So I've been, my life continues to be a whirlwind, going around, always into lots of things, but always enjoying and seeking to be excellent at what I do.
And the other thing I want to talk about is the fact that you are the chairwoman of our education committee.
Yes, yes.
And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But let's talk about, I know there's this passion thing that you got going. I don't want to say it's a passion thing. Tell us about, you and your entrepreneurial journey.
Okay, well.
Let's back up first. So you went to Howard.
Yes.
For music.
Yes.
So talk about that a little bit.
Okay. So I actually initially went to Howard on a full scholarship to study biology because my first choice for a career was to be a medical doctor.
Okay.
I spent 1 year as a biology major and I said, this is not really me. I don't know if this is what I want to do for life. And so I switched to my major to music. And I studied voice for jazz studies.
Okay,
and
I can hear that. I can hear that.
So I am a vocalist, and I still do that. Pandemic has sort of slowed it down, but it's something that has always been and will continue to be a part of what I do. Anybody that knows Nigerian parents, the stereotypical Nigerian parents, when I switched from biology to music, my father was irate.
Right.
But my mom helped him to calm down a little bit and say, hey, it's her life. As long as she's happy, and she just wanted to make sure, do you still have that scholarship money? And thank goodness that the scholarship was transferable. It didn't matter what my major was.
Right.
And I was able to transfer the scholarship money over to music. So I got a bachelor and a master of music at Howard.
That's a beautiful thing. My last interview from last week, I was talking to Dr. Delvina Thomas, and we were just talking about living our passions, and the fact that you are a vocal artist, that, what you're doing, which we're going to talk about, that other entrepreneurial side of you doesn't keep you from pursuing that, I don't even want to say dream. That's who you are, that passion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's definitely a part of me. Another thing about my culture as a Nigerian is that names are extremely important. And so my mother gave me the middle name Passion because they believe that you mark your children with names. And I'd say, well, if that's true, she certainly marked me with Passion being my middle name, because I really, that has been my life's direction, continuing to follow my passions. Sometimes it's got me in a little trouble on the personal side, but it still makes for a beautiful life and never a dull moment.
Right. So let's go back to this entrepreneurial journey. So tell us about your daily dreams and, as a passions in your entrepreneurial journey.
Okay. Well, I was able to, because of being a music major, I spent 8 years being a music teacher in DC public schools, as well as a couple of years in Broward and in Miami-Dade as well. But most of my career as a teacher was in DC public schools. And then after that, because of that, there was a every time there are cuts in budget, we know who a lot of times is cut first, and that is the arts.
Right.
And so at a point, there was a cut in budget, and I had to look for another job. Lucky for me, I was a business minor when I was at Howard.
Okay.
So I actually became a business administration teacher for several years and made my way as a career and technical education educator. And so from there, around that same time, after I had been doing that for about 4 years, I finished my doctorate in education leadership. And so that led me to be a consultant. I wanted something different. I said, I think my years are up as a classroom teacher. I would
Okay.
like to do something different. And so that led me to be an education consultant. And so just saying all that to say the journey just has continued to evolve to the point where I was an education consultant. And that led me to say, I would like to actually do this. I don't want to work for someone else as a consultant. I'd like to have my own business as a consultant. And so I've always done the music as a side hustle.
Right.
I've always done even music as a first hustle and a side hustle because I was a music teacher. But now the consulting, education management consulting is also a part of what I do as well. And I actually got to teach entrepreneurship as a business administration teacher, which helped me to learn and not be afraid to step out on my own and try to be an entrepreneur myself. So lots of different ways and paths, but my life has led me from music major to music teacher to business teacher to education consultant to entrepreneur. So
Okay.
that was the pathway.
So this whole passion of entrepreneurship, what drove that for you? And I know you said you you taught, you were in the school system, but what drives your entrepreneurial spirit?
I think that it's in my DNA, one, because my grandmother, from what my father shared, my grandmother on my my father's side in Nigeria was an entrepreneur. She
Okay.
was market woman, so she was the plug, should I say. You go to her when you need something. So I
Right.
said, it must be in my DNA. And I believe that my great-grandmother also on my mother's side actually owned a restaurant at a point. So I think it's a little bit in my DNA. I also think that being an artist helps to fuel my dreams of entrepreneurship because that artist in me was tired of the four walls every day. And so I had that passion for education, and I still do. But I said, how can I impact in a different way?
Right.
The four walls and the clock 9 to 5 just wasn't getting it for me anymore. I wanted something different. I didn't want the monotony of the schedule and the monotony of, okay, winter, spring, summer, fall, we're all for the summer. We start back in September. I love the variety and the departure from monotony that entrepreneurship offers.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna segue. You talked about your grandmother, your mother and their entrepreneurial spirit. Obviously, you're of Nigerian background, and how does that really impact your way of thinking here, in America, in Miami? I mean, you grew up here basically,
Mm-hmm.
but having that legacy of grandmother, great grandmother, and your name is your name.
Yes.
It's your family's name, unlike those of us in America who have, for lack of a better word, slave names. How does that influence you?
Okay. Well, actually, my mother is African American. She's
Okay.
a South Florida native. So
Okay.
her family made their way from North Florida down to West Palm Beach, and then she grew up in Miami. So
Okay.
she's African American, and my father is a Nigerian immigrant, and they somehow met and fell in love
Right.
in the 70s and made wonderful meat.
Right.
But saying that to say, what it gave me growing up was a more global perspective of the world. I knew about money exchange from a very young age because my father was traveling and he would bring back money that actually had Black people on it. Some kids
Right.
don't get that experience and they don't understand that it's not 11:30 in Nigeria right now. It's another time. And so
Right.
from a young age, I had a more global perspective. And I would venture to say that I was also bicultural, not biracial. Both of my parents are Black,
Right.
but bicultural, meaning that I understood and knew how to navigate within African-American culture, because that's what my mother is. And most of the time we are mostly, raised by our mothers, especially if you have a dad that's, out there working and,
Traveling
and travel and doing those things. And then also experiencing my father's culture as well. And so I think at least growing up that way, it makes me a very open-minded and malleable person. I'm able to fit in various venues. And especially also, again, being that artist and walking the line, what I believe my life has been, walking a line between scholarship and artistry at all times. So again, I feel like I can navigate different rooms, different spaces, because I've always had an open view of not just one perspective, having multiple perspectives and being able to see things from multiple angles.
Okay. Now, we talked about the chamber in terms of you being the chairwoman of the education committee. And I know we just came back from Tallahassee a few months ago talking about advocacy and talking about policy and changing how we are impacted as a Black business community. Again, in terms of your passion for education, what do you see the education committee, the direction and how you will impact education? And think about education, it's just not when we think about, I guess you would say parochial education, but education for entrepreneurs and business persons.
Yes, so it's funny you should use the word impact because as the leadership team and I were working on and considering how to sort of revive and stand up the committee's efforts for this year, the theme that we came up with was impact. And so we said, how can we impact outwardly as well as inwardly? And so we came up with the idea to have 3 subcommittees. One would be resources. So again, like you mentioned, education and resources for our members and whatever we need to be able to grow and scale our businesses and achieve whatever goals we have for our businesses. And then outwardly we have a student outreach subcommittee where we will look for and devise ways to have an impact outwardly for all students. And we had to do this. At first, our description was high school and higher ed, but someone spoke up and said, don't forget about the little ones, pre-K through middle school. So we made sure that we included that now in our efforts and in our thoughts and framing as well. And then the last committee is events, because we want to make sure that we also have a good time. So we're going to make sure that we have some ways for us to network and connect with each other as well. So you hit it right on the head with impact, outward, inward, and looking for ways that we're going to definitely try to have an impact in the community as the education committee of the chamber.
And again, speaking of our youth, you mentioned high school and college, but then also elementary. I have a daughter who is graduating from FAMU in April, and has this entrepreneurial spirit. So what is your perspective? I mean, and I'm in meetings all the time, and I just was in a meeting a couple of days ago, and it was about franchising opportunities. And our young folks today, they want to be entrepreneurs. And the one comment that I made was that basically everything that we see came from somebody's entrepreneurial spirit. Okay. The gas station's on the corner because somebody wanted to open their own business, their gas station. Burger King, McDonald's, etc. These all came from entrepreneurs. Colonel Sanders, Kentucky Fried Chicken. So what is being an educator, What do you say to these young folks?
I would say be ready. Be ready for the ups and downs. Go into entrepreneurship knowing that it's a long play. It's not a short play. You may see Instagram and people getting immediate gratification. Oh, I started my business a month ago and I'm a millionaire. It could possibly happen, but guess what? They're one in a million
Right.
of the rest of the entrepreneurs who it may take 3-4 years to
10,
build
20.
to build their business. And I use as an example all the time that even the IRS expects that your business may not be profitable for the first few years. So they're not even going to look if you're saying, I wasn't profitable this year, I started my business this year.
Right.
Because that's the realness of it, is that entrepreneurship is a long play. There are going to be ups and downs, and make sure that you enter in it not for the money, but do it because, again, going back to that word, because it's something that you're passionate about,
Mm-hmm.
because then the money will come, but you will be able to insert your passion into what you're doing. And because you don't want to get, just like with a 9-to-5 job and working for someone else, you don't want to start a business that you're not really passionate about, because at least for that job, maybe you're only working 40 hours a week. But entrepreneur, you're getting ready to work 60 to 80 hours on your on this business,
right?
And until it's at a point where you can hire others to work for you in it, and you're making passive income. So just know, enter into entrepreneurship knowing that you should do something that still is what you're passionate about, because if you're not, you'll be right back out of entrepreneurship. Like many businesses, I think it's 50% fail every year because they don't stick with it, because they it's not what they expected. So go in with an educated perspective, knowing exactly what you're getting into, and being aware of the pitfalls, having a mentor, looking for good advice, knowing that you need to continue to be educated. Just because you graduate in April, don't think, oh, I got a degree, I know it all now. No, you still need to go to workshops. You still need to talk to other folks. You still need to continue to network. And sometimes that a little bit of advice that you got from someone at a networking event could be the next thing that you need for the next level. So just those are the things that I would share.
Yeah. And, you think about education. I always look at colleges. Basically, it's telling a prospective employer that you are able to learn or do a job because you have, the ability to learn. You're taking those 4 years or 6 years or whatever, learning a particular skill, but now you have to go into that setting. But going back to that entrepreneur, as I always say, having the back of your house together, and a lot of folks are great at what they do. They may, as I say, may be a great cook, they may be a great designer, but if they don't have those things behind them, the right legal setup, the right marketing team behind them, PR, the CPA, accountants. So that is the part of business that a lot of people fail at. Even when here in the middle of the pandemic, people were not able to access PPP because, again, they didn't have their back of their house together. Something as simple as not having their EIN updated. They didn't pay their state on their state taxes on their incorporation or their business. They didn't pay their local taxes with the county or the municipality that they're in. So those little nuances can keep you from moving forward. So what would be some of the last words you'd like to share with our audience?
I would just say that entrepreneurship has been a great journey, and it's a journey that I hope to continue on. And as you said, have your house in order. You don't have to get ready if you stay ready.
There you go.
And I'll say, do it with passion or not at all. That's my mantra.
I like that. Sing it out loud.
Yes.
Well, this has been another great day here. It is International Women's Month. We're celebrating women this month. And this has been the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. If you want to know more about the Chamber, you can go to www.m-dcc, or you can call the Chamber at 305-751-8648. And Dr. E, if they want to get in touch with you?
Yes, you can email me at Egheosa@passionfirerise.com. I think that'll be in the text somewhere
Right.
as well. And then I have two websites because I have two businesses. One is hopepunk.net, where I sell women's statement accessories. And then, as I mentioned before, education management consulting services at evolutiontms.com.
Well, thank you again. Excuse me. Thank you for joining the Miami-Dade Chamber. See you at the next Member Connection.